Shalom, everybody. Oh, what's going on here? You can turn your device while live. They put up notices right in my face when I'm trying to begin talking here. What a pain in the you-know-what. But what am I going to do? That's Facebook for you. Anyway, like I was about to say, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Rabbi Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, found online at www.KosherTorah.com. We're here live on Facebook, and we are going to have a little lesson tonight. Lovely. My phone, you should know, we always have problems. Technology is such a blessing. It makes everything so much easier. No, it doesn't. The text is scrolling in on the wrong side. Now you can say, oh, turn your phone around. No, I'm not turning anything around. It just means, like in the past, we're going to have problems reading your text, so I'm not going to bother. Anyway, that's not what tonight is all about anyway. What tonight is about is to talk about what's coming down the pike. For those of you who watch me on Facebook, you know I haven't done any live classes on Facebook for a long time. And I withdrew from this on Facebook for a reason. And that is to focus on those who are really willing, able, and interested in what our KosherTorah School has to teach. What I teach here at our KosherTorah School is not like the run-of-the-mill of all my peers out there teaching you from the books and how to entertain you with Torah knowledge. I am not an entertainer. And if I'm going to call myself an educator, what I wish to educate is not so much to give you information that you can easily access from books or other sources. I don't need to be repetitive. I've always shared that if I have anything of value to share with you, if I want you to see something, hey, look, well, why on earth would I consider it an insult, actually, to ask you to look through my eyes? Because why should you see things my way? Who the heck am I? I want you to see things with your own eyes. And that is what my focus has always been here at our KosherTorah School, to teach the experiential path. We call it the prophetic path. For those of you who follow our KosherTorah School, you know this last year I came out with two very, very revelatory and important books. One was called Let There Be Knowing, and the follow-up to it called The Using Holy Names of God. And I might have shared with the public forum before. I know I've shared it with my school. Let There Be Knowing, big book, about 500 pages. It originally started as a 4-page essay that I was writing for my private students that I released to them weekly in serial form in our private KosherTorah School email. And as I wrote the 4 pages, I just saw something, felt something that I've seen many a times before. And that is my hand just kept on writing like this guy is typing. In other words, I didn't sit down with any plan. I did not sit down with any agenda. I most certainly did not sit down with any kind of outline. But yet, more and more and more just kept flowing from me, flowing out of me. Half the times I'm not even aware of what I'm writing. I have to go back and edit, make sure it makes any sense. And that is how my first book back in 1993, Call Upon My Name, was written. And it's nice to know we're still doing the same thing here in 2022. And that is how Let There Be Knowing was written. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is because we all see what's going on around us now. Anybody who has any brains in your heads recognizes we're not living in normal times. And I'm sorry, there are a lot of people out there who will even deny that. They're very happy the way things are. They think things are the way they're supposed to be, whatever. And you know something? What can I say? Let me be very, very clear. And what I'm talking about, trying to get you to see for yourself. I don't want you to see for yourself religion. I want you to see the reality of the worlds in which we live. And what I mean by that is this. Our prophetic traditions, remember we call it the receptions, the Kabbalah, not the modern forms that developed with Zoharic teachings, which are mostly, if you will, metaphysical, theosophical speculations. That's what most of that is. We call that the Kabbalah Iyunit, the theoretical Kabbalah. I'm not here to discuss and debate. Well, this one says this and this one says that. Good, great. Everybody's got their opinions. All the great and holy sages each have had their own insights, as have I. But why or how do we express value to this or that other than by what you yourself need to see? That's what I'm trying to teach here. I try to teach people to see with your own eyes. If I'm going to talk to you now about a plan for the human race, a plan that is well entrenched and well underway, involving human beings, non-human beings, beings from this dimension, beings from other dimensions, beings from other places, who have complete and total control of our society, our economies, our governments, militaries, everything. But the one thing that they have made efforts is to achieve domination over human minds. Now, in the wise words of King Solomon, Ein kol hadash tachat hashemesh. There's nothing new under the sun. This is an old pattern that was established long, long ago. I'll give you the biblical example of it from what we know. I'm sure you're all familiar with the biblical story of Joseph. You remember Joseph went down to Egypt. And it was God's plan to raise up Joseph, to make him the viceroy, prime minister, whatever, of Egypt. So what did God do? Well, God is the one who manipulated the entire scenario with Potiphar's wife, to make Potiphar's wife desire Joseph so that he would be accused. He manipulated Potiphar's mind not to kill Joseph on the spot, but to put him into prison. And then God manipulated Joseph and his surroundings to make him a blessing. So Joseph, even though he was in the worst situation, still had a good reputation. Long story short, it was God who decided to send a famine to the Middle East, which manipulated the world body politic of the day with the specific intent to elevate Egypt to being a superpower. We all know the biblical story. Pharaoh has his dream. Where did that dream come from? They think Pharaoh just, got it out of a Cracker Jack box? No, God sent it. And it was the baker who then turns to Paro and says, there was this guy who can interpret dreams. After years, 2 years, didn't think about Joseph, but all of a sudden he did. Joseph comes and he's very, very astute and clever. He knows how to talk to a world leader. You think that comes easily? Joseph was the one who gave Pharaoh the suggestion to appoint a viceroy. And somehow Pharaoh knew inside himself, because there was that little voice telling him, this is your man. So, Joseph is now the viceroy. And what does he do? He takes advantage of the prosperity and the plenty that's available throughout the entire country and taxes it. Takes a 20% tax off the top of everything. Well, when times are good and you have abundance, then what's a tax? It's an inconvenience. You don't like it, but all right, you pay it because there's plenty. Until the plenty disappears. The years of famine come. Now, Pharaoh is now going to sell the people grain. Where did he get that grain from? Oh, that's right. That was the taxation that he charged on the people. Or in other words, Pharaoh is now going to sell back the people their own grain. He took it for free, and now he's going to sell it back to them. Year one, they pay for the grain with their money, right? It's rough times. You got to do what you got to do. But by the second year, famine continues. It's rough. You got to do what you got to do. They take all of their movable valuables, sell it to Pharaoh. And year three, by then, they have to sell all their intangibles like land and real estate, and eventually their homes. Ultimately, by the end, all their property, all their belongings, everything is owned by the state. So ultimately, there's only one thing left. The people submit and surrender themselves to be slaves to Pharaoh. And now the communist takeover of ancient Egypt is complete, with Joseph at the helm, thank you, in which now the government owns all, just like it was reproduced in 1917 in Soviet Union. Now, this is what's happening again today. You can believe it, you cannot believe it. I don't want you to accept my opinion on things. I want you to see with your own eyes. We have been distracted. There is a plan, a pattern. It's guided by higher hands. It is ultimately guided by God, but God delegates the details of the plan into his many, many ambassadors, messengers. Remember, we call a messenger in Hebrew angels. Even if those angels might be demons, shadim. They're all working for a higher purpose. There are groups out there that have their own agendas. They may not know at all that they are being manipulated to work for the higher hand, but they are. And don't think that human beings are the only ones who are manipulated to work for God. You have entire other races out there. So, like Daniel chapter 4:14, where it states, right, by the hands of the watchers. The watchers have been around forever. I'm not going to bother to get into the identity of who the watchers are. I covered this in my book, Aliens, Angels, and Demons. If you're interested, you can go to Amazon, you can download the book, Kindle version, printed version, whatever, and see for yourself the source material for this, and learn for yourselves. The watchers have never gone away. They're still out there wherever there is, and wherever there is, where there is, making sense there, yeah, that's also covered in my books, because there are many, many secrets. Now, recognize and know all of human history has been guided by the higher hand. Anything and everything that's happening, we are following a schedule. We are following a program. Although we are not actual individual batteries in a machine, our world is a simulation. Everything around us. This is not our reality. This is our present context in these corporate bodies. Our reality, our souls, our consciousness are placed within these present identities for a reason, for a purpose. Sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we get entrapped. And we've been in cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle of entrapment because there's a problem with the program. And the powers that be are working behind the scenes to fix it. And they're creating every and all scenarios so that each and every portion of the program, meaning us, will be able to sift out whether we are going to be corrected and repaired, or we're going to have to go through another cycle in another place and another time until we are. I've always said to people, first of all, let me dispel some myth. As you know, it is a very popular belief in religious circles to believe that after you die, You go to one singular, eternal form of an afterlife, be it a heaven or a hell. And in this objective reality, is what these people believe, all truth is known. So if you're a Christian, obviously, you all know that Yeshu is there as king, right? And of course, there are no Jews in heaven, in the Christian heaven. They can't be, because they're Christians, or Muslims, or Buddhists, or Hindus, and we go down the list. And everybody's concept and version of heaven and hell is as different as their cultural contexts. Our sages knew this, talked about this, and they referred to this by the curious term as the Gan Eden Tachton, the lower Garden of Eden, wherein which our experience of an afterlife is a subjective projection, of that which we expect to see and feel. So when a lot of these people have out-of-body experiences, you'll always notice evangelical Christians see an evangelical Christian heaven. Catholics see a Catholic heaven. Jews see a Jewish heaven, etc. Well, how many heavens are there? As many as there are imaginations in the human mind. All of this, like I said, is part of the program. Now, the program, a lot of it was known and a lot of it was spoken about. Although we can contest whether the authorship of the Zohar comes from the 2nd century in Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai or later in the school of Rabbi Moshe de Leon in the 1200s, which is probably more historically accurate, but it doesn't matter, because the teachings thereof are impeccable and unimpeachable, regardless of the historicity. So as such, there are many things revealed in the Zohar which are not just metaphysical speculations, but actual parts of the plan which are told and exposed of what's going to be. Just like it was exposed to Daniel, just like it was exposed to many who came after him in literature which we call apocalyptic literature. Many of it has been, like Daniel, concealed and put under many different cloaks. And the Gemara, the Talmud, very, very much did this. Merkabah literature, Zoharic literature, and those who, like I said, can see with their own eyes. Instead of looking out like this, they get to the other side, they can look back at the literature and recognize the concealment from within. And that's how they recognize what's happening. And we are, for the most part, bound by an oath of silence that we are not allowed to reveal other than to those who can see with their own eyes. Halacha Maaseh Merkabah, teaching it only one-on-one. Right? Remember, like it says in the Song of Songs, do not wake my beloved. Well, this is it. People like myself, and I'm a radical, you should know. I, Orthodox rabbi, going on 40 years, but it's not enough for me to want to make other people religious like me. You want to be religious, be religious. If you don't want to be religious, it's your business. You'll see the karmic effect of that in your lives. That's all I could say. And the powers that be know this. And that's why, for the last 100 years, this phase of a plan has been operational in Western civilization. You know the great wars of this last 100 years. World War I, World War II, and the coming World War III. Yes, there is a World War III to come. And obviously it's going to be bigger and nastier than 1 and 2 combined. But don't think that these things were isolated events. 1, 2, and 3 are all part of the same continuing conflict, which is being orchestrated and directed from both sides. The same old enemies are always there. They've not disappeared. They have not been defeated. They have not gone away. They just went undercover. And they've taken on new identities, new names, and went for a long-term plan to create and then control a new world order. And the ultimate enemy which needed to be defeated was that which defeated them the last time. The greatness of Western liberties and freedom, spearheaded by the United States. Now, we all know the history of the United States. American greatness, and America was great, was built upon a terrible legacy. We all know the history of slavery, the Holocaust, the true worst Holocaust that happened to the Native American. Never deny these things. Don't try to justify them or anything of the kind. If you ever want to throw that word Holocaust and Nazi around, believe me, look at what these people here in this country did to the Native Americans. That's a Holocaust. Not like any of these other stupid words that people throw around like today. Anyway, getting back to the point. God works in strange ways. Yes, God is even behind that. There was a plan, concerted effort led by the United States government through the entire 19th century to conceal the ancient history of this land and the ancient Hebraic presence that have been here probably for over 2,000 years. There are books and documentaries out there. James Adair's book from the 1760s is still available. All right, it's there. But our government didn't want anybody to know that many of the Native Americans had an ancient history which is highly advanced, civilized, and most likely originally Hebraic. No, not everybody. Right? There were people here before the Hebrews came. What? The civilizations, the documentations, the Hebraic writings. We found that out right here in Tellico, right here in Eastern Tennessee where we live. We know it's been here. It's always been here. And you'd be surprised what are hiding in those woods. We won't go there. But anyway, moving right along. There is a plan. There is an agenda. We're in the middle of it. Like I said, it started over 100 years ago. And it is all about taking control. After World War II, the Cold War was orchestrated so that infiltration could be achieved. And it was. It worked very well. And here we are today with the recent innovations of technology, which has led us to the World Wide Web. Here we are using this form of communication to speak live to all of you around the world. That's wonderful. But of course, every single word that I am speaking is being recorded. And if there are powers that be that are interested, good luck if there are, might be analyzing it, curious, wondering, where is he going with this? What's he going to say? But like I said to you before, I am also bound by my oaths, and there's only so much that I am allowed to reveal, and I confess I must conceal even more. But at the same time, I am obligated to give a warning, to allow people to know what is necessary for them to make appropriate, wise choices. Now, what is it going to take? It's going to take, in other words, if you really want to get, and quote, out of the matrix, it's going to require something that I'll bet you almost everybody here listening, whether you're here live or recording, you're not going to want to do. If I told you to, turn your lives upside down, get the heck out of Dodge, move, go from an urban to a rural area, learn to become self-sufficient, right? Turn off, get off the grid, come back to the natural way that God ordained human beings to live. How many of you are saying, I'm ready to go? I'll bet you almost no one. Why? Well, Rabbi, I got to worry about the money and the responsibilities and the this, and you got all the excuses. Let me tell you about excuses. In the early 1930s, Germany elected a new chancellor, elected democratically. Of course, his name was Adolf Hitler. Now, on day one, when Herr Hitler took over the German government, he didn't gather all the Jews on that one day and says, kill them all. No. His policies developed over a period of time. How many people listened? I could tell you 6 million certainly didn't. It took years before World War II developed. And Hitler was planning this all along. He built up his military. He was the master of the art of deception. Sun Tzu in the art of war would have been proud of his mastery of deception. Remember what the Nazi mentality towards deception was. Don't tell little lies, tell the big lie. And tell it over and over and over again until people finally accept it. And you don't need proof, because ultimately, emotionally, people wink, wink, know it's true, in spite of the fact that it's a lie. Well, that type of propaganda, psychological operations, most certainly did not die with the Third Reich. It continues to this very day in much usage with all of our governments around the world. If you've never read anything on psychological operations, military style, occult style even, you should brush up and see the ways and means of persuasion, manipulation. It's always done with smiley faces and hugs and kisses, never with the wagging finger or the warning threat. We have now created a World Wide Web, in which we have now one. I'm sticking the thought in my head from the movie. What was it? The Lord of the Rings. One ring to rule them all. Now we'll have one rule to rule them all. A new world order. But before we can have the new world order, we have to get rid of the old one. Now, you want to learn what that plan is? Go read Daniel. It's all there. Go and look at my book, Visions of the End of Days. In the chapters where I covered the vision of Daniel's beasts, the toppling of the 3 kings before the 4th king. That's where we are right now. Who are the 3 kings? In recent times, they've been identified by many to be capitalism, communism, socialism. In light of what's happening at this very moment, some people think it's the United States, Russia, and China. Conflict between these powers is inevitable. Full-scale war between these powers is inevitable. Why? Because just like God hardened Pharaoh's heart in the days of Moses, God is hardening the hearts of the real leaders of this world, those who stand behind Mr. Ping, Mr. Putin, and Mr. Biden. They are the nominal titular heads of their nations, but we know that there are powers behind them all. That's just the way it is. Maybe the powers behind them are watchers. Maybe the powers behind them are some secret society. Just for the record, as you know, the Nazis always loved to point a finger away from themselves. So they pointed at the one place that everybody's willing to turn to. Remember, tell the big lie? And they always blame the Jews. Well, the Jews are behind everything. And they point to people like Henry Kissinger and George Soros as proof that the Jews are behind the cabal to destroy the world. Good Lord, what on earth? What on earth or heaven or anywhere else would ever make you think that George Soros or Henry Kissinger or anyone like them is Jewish? What about them is Jewish? Well, they were born Jewish. No, they weren't born nothing. Because their ancestry? You know what? Who cares about ancestry? No one cares what your ancestors did, who they were. They look at you as an individual. People like Mr. Soros or Mr. Kissinger most certainly, most definitely have absolutely no connection to a Jewish identity or a Torah agenda. If anybody is, a tool in God's hand that doesn't even know it, they are. If anything, the word that we use in Torah, of course, is armilos, but the Christians call it Antichrist. If anybody represents an Antichrist, anti-Torah spirit, it's people like them. And there are many of them. So don't go looking to the likes of a Mr. Kissinger or a Mr. Soros and say, they're the bad guys. They're the poster child. Who the heck knows who's behind them, and who knows who's behind those who are behind them? Yeah, we go really deep down the rabbit hole. Those are the areas which, no, I'm not allowed to publicly discuss. All I will tell you is this. The forces that be that are truly in control of this world are the same ones who were in control of Nebuchadnezzar in the days of Daniel, the same ones who were in control of Pharaoh in the days of Joseph. And they are manipulating our society today. Deal with it. Doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what you feel. There is nothing you're going to do about it. Because this is not about them. This is about you. And I'm talking personally now to you. You are being watched. You are being tested. You are being put into a simulation to test. You're being put in the rat's maze to see what you're going to do. And situations are going to get more complicated, more difficult. And you are going to have to make choices. Those choices, I don't want to just say choices between good and evil. I'll give you a choice which is far more relevant and far more real. Your choice is between freedom and slavery. Oh, not just freedom or slavery of your physical bodies. You're an old guy like me. Who cares? A couple of decades from now, we'll be dead and buried under the ground. Freedom! Oh, nay, nay, nay. Don't you dare think for a moment that death brings you freedom. No, it doesn't. You see, the powers that be right now, their agenda is very clear. Their agenda is not just to take away your money and to put you under control. They've done that 100 times before. For them, piece of cake. Especially now with the internet. Yes, crypto. Do you have a message? My big shepherd is here off the side. Yes. Do you have a message? Do you want to come on camera and give everybody your message? Yes? What's your message? Is it really? Crypto, he has a message for you. It is woof, 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 woof. Now you're asking, what does that mean? Pray about it. I'm not here to translate. What do you think? I gave you a message. Now go lie down. I've been blessed. No, you're not going out. Stay. Anyway, to get back to reality, crypto will just have to wait. The reality is, we are right now being tested to see who is going to be free and who is going to be a slave for the next 10,000 lifetimes. In other words, we are here at the sifting. You know, like you boil stuff and things rise to the top? Well, here's where the souls are. We are at the point now to see which souls are going to evolve and move on into the dimension of freedom, and which will not do this, and are going to recycle back from scratch and work their way from the dregs of slavery back up to freedom. And then more will become free. Now you could say, that's a long process. You betcha. And we're not the first ones to go through this. There were earlier human civilizations on our planet, 10,000s of years ago. Maybe it was Atlantis and Lemuria, or we call them by different names long forgotten. But when our governments discover that there was a secret civilization under Antarctica. Oh, exciting! In our Torah world, we yawn. Yeah, we know about that. Wait till you find the next one. Okay? We know all about this stuff. I've translated, I've written about this. Ein kol hadash tachat hashemesh. Nothing new there. All of our supposed UFO alien friends, like the little gray guys, they didn't crash in Roswell. They were shot down. And they didn't come from outer space. They're not from Zetor Teculai. They're from the Shaya. They're from inner Earth. Now, is that another dimension? Is that another physical place? I do not talk about those things in public. But I will tell you this. Don't think that they're not real. When David Jacobs writes books about the hybrids infiltrating us, what are they doing? What are their plans? What are they up to? I don't need Mr. Jacobs to tell me this. I can go back 600, 700, 800 years to the writings of Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid and Rabbi Menachem Tziuni, who wrote about these things centuries ago. We've always known their agenda. We've always known what they're up to. Okay, you want a little tidbit? And I'll give you a little ooh and ah. Some of the bad guys that are out there, the ones in control, they are physically, biologically, completely by DNA, human in every which way. So that if and when you were going to ever dissect them, they'd be completely human. But if you know anything about energy signatures, if you know anything about what we call souls, you would recognize that the soul is completely alien. Shed, jinn, or otherwise. They have worked for centuries to perfect putting their energy signatures into human bodies so that through their human bodies they can control things like they've always planned. And God sits back and says, okay, let's watch and see and wait and see, because it's all part of the plan. Because we have to have the great Havdalah, the great separation. You remember the plague in Egypt, of the plague of darkness? Our sages say many of the children of Israel died during that plague. Whether they physically died or they just became Egyptian, don't know, doesn't matter. But they never made it out. And even those who did make it out of Egypt still had a problem, if you remember, a year or two later, with the episode of the spies, where it was very clear that you could take the people out of Egypt, but it's very hard to take Egypt out of the people. Well, here we are again, just as the plan provides. And this decade specifically is a decade of change, a decade of transformation. Oh, we will go through World War III. And yes, it's going to be nuclear. And I know you don't want to believe it, I'm about to tell you, but it's all planned. It's all staged. It's all prepared. Yes, the United States economy is going to collapse. No doubt about it. It's going to crash. And you already know that it's not going to lead to the chaos that we see in our Mad Max type movies, where you read about it in all the survivalist material that you're on your own. Oh, no, nay. The government will step in, just like the government stepped in during the Depression and in World War II. And if the dollar were to ever collapse as a global fiat currency, well, that would completely disrupt the American economy and send earthquakes, tidal waves, destruction through the global economy, right? For those of you who are Christian, maybe you will remember the echoing words in the book of Revelation, fallen is Babylon, the great harlot. Well, here we are. And what do you do next? Well, how about we just choose a model which works? Oh, what model could that be? Take a look at certain countries today. I won't mention them to avoid any algorithmic problems. Do you know what I'm talking about? And just like we here in the United States today have what we call a credit score, how would you like to have a social score, where in which everything that you think and do and say is monitored and put into a system and comprehensively controlled by a global electronic currency. So you, like in the days of Egypt, are an appendage of the government. You will do what you are told. You will live where you will live, where you are told. You will do everything exactly what you are told, because they have complete control over you. If, for example, they schedule you for their new vaccine, and they will say next Thursday at 3 o'clock, you will show up at such and such to receive your vaccine. You say, I'm not getting a vaccine. They'll send you an email. Because you did not get your vaccine, you are now going to be fined. If you continue to avoid these schedules, we will fine you 3, 4, 5 times, then we will close you out of your bank account, and you will have no access to your funds. You will not be able to order your food. You will not be able to pay your rent, even if it is a government-owned place. Total, complete control. What do you think the vast majority of people are going, or how do you think the vast majority of people will respond? The answer is very simple. Comply. Because life is so much more important. My gosh, don't you ever follow what's going on in the news? Didn't you hear about this star? Oh my gosh, he was cheating on his wife, and she's a real hottie. Oh, he was cheating on her with this one. Oh, did you hear what this guy did? Oh my goodness, did you see the latest movie? Oh, did you hear the latest news? Distraction upon distraction upon distraction. Keeping your minds occupied so you're not paying attention. Magic tricks, right? Pay attention to my hand here, and you don't see what's coming on from over here. Exactly what they do. Simple magic trick. And everybody falls for it. You know how important it is. Pay attention to everything going on social media, to watch the latest videos on YouTube. Oh my goodness. Did you hear the latest of what's going on? Oh. This is your lie. This is your matrix. They suck you in. And they keep your mind enslaved. And your bodies are just going to follow suit. And I would think that almost 99% of you listening here, most likely it's already too late for you. What are you going to do? Years ago, long time ago, back in the 1980s, when Rabbi Obadiah Yosef was one of the greatest Sephardic rabbis of this last century, was alive, he railed against people having televisions in their homes. And he would say, Al tavito eva hazod al batecha. Don't bring that abomination into your home. And yet, a lot of religious people have television. In the day, I had a television. And it took me all these years to finally say, judging from what's on, in quote, television or social media these days, the rabbi's right. I didn't mind the old television programs that I grew up with in the 60s and the 70s and the like. To this day, I will still watch reruns of programs like the Beverly Hillbillies or Dragnet with Sergeant Friday, or some of these which are relatively benign, if not actually good. Sitting there eating lunch, something you just want to blow off some steam, that's fine. But take a look at the crap that they have today. It is so much founded on paganism, demonic elements. There has been such a concerted effort to remove any and all mention of God, the Bible, religion, morality, not only just from the public forum, but from the minds and consciousness of people. And it has succeeded. And the great Havdalah is coming upon us. So here we are, in the middle of the agenda, in the middle of the schedule. There are many people, Mashiach is coming, he's going to save us. How many of you might remember an old cartoon named Mighty Mouse? They used to say, here I come to save the day. We all believe that Mashiach man, like Superman, he's going to come flying out of the sky, and he's going to wave his magic wand, and all the bad guys are just going to fall dead, and all of a sudden goodness is going to blossom on the earth. I can't think of a greater myth and a fantasy than that. Certainly that is not what our Torah teaches. It is not what our Talmud teaches. There is an agenda today of many who want to make every effort to rebuild the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. What a foolish endeavor this is. Number one, al-pi halacha, no one is ritually pure enough that they can do that. I've recently seen, just in today's news, that they just recently brought 5 red heifers, right, to Israel, the hope and prayer that one of them could be kosher enough. But no one's kosher to slaughter one. It doesn't matter. So they can say, well, we're going to find excuses and reasons in halakha. Good, make all excuses you want. The Reform and Conservative have been doing that. So if you want to call yourself Orthodox and create all kinds of excuses in halakha just like they do, then I guess that's what you'll do. It is a very clear statement in the Talmud and in the Gemara, the Zohar, that with that which we call a third temple, don't think of Ezekiel's temple as next, what's going to come. That was a vision. That was not literal. That which we call a third temple is supposed to come ready built and descend from the skies. What exactly that means, I guess time will tell. But it's supposed to be an actual physical edifice, which is supposed to come from someplace not of this earth. And we'll see when that time comes. And in all due respect, I'm not holding my breath. For those of you living in the Holy Land and think you're going to be protected against all oncomers because that's what it says in prophecy. Let me remind you, it doesn't say that in prophecy at all. As a matter of fact, prophecy says something the opposite. That almost every Jew living in the Holy Land is going to get killed. That's clearly stated in the Zohar. It is stated in many other places as well. I've written about these things. So for those of you who have this magical connection to the belief that the Holy Land is safe, okay, I'm not here to convince you otherwise, but just in case your plans don't pan out, what can I say? It is a religious Zionist myth to propagate. Everybody should move to the Holy Land. Don't think I'm against moving to the Holy Land. You want to move, go right ahead. But the prophecy states that Mashiach is the one who's going to gather in all the exiles, not the present state of Israel. But that's beside the point. I don't want to get into politics with that. What's going to happen with Western civilization? You see already what's coming down the pike with Europe. Well, as the winter progresses, you're not going to find a desire to invade Russia. After Hitler and Napoleon, people have learned the lesson: do not invade Russia during the winter. So that's not going to happen. But there are many ways to fight a war without necessarily the involvement of troops. It's already being done. And that's, of course, economic corruption. Don't think that Russia is losing the war in the Ukraine. Don't ever be fooled. So foolish to think that the Russians are so easily intimidated and defeated. They can, and most likely will, defeat all of NATO. The Chinese, they're going to try to take over the world. And yes, the Chinese are spoken of in our prophecy. But it does state that as great and high as they will rise, they will not succeed. As the United States in God's eyes is kind of like ancient Israel. It too, like ancient Israel, is going to be, if you will, punished for its sins. That which will happen here in this land, of course, there will be a fall, a corruption, most likely a civil war, a very violent one. We see these things brewing day by day by day. Now, I'm not going to give you predictions of what's going to happen week by week or month by month. What do you think? This is an astrology column? But I will tell you, we are coming into the new year. We're passed through this phase of the month of Libra, Moznaim, the scales. I wrote about this in Secrets of the Cycles of Time. Check out my Rosh Hashanah essays if you're interested. And the influx of our present conflict and derision and disunity goes through the cycle of the Moznaim and justice, and comes out on the other side with its just rewards. And in the wise words of Thomas Jefferson, I fear for my country when I know that God is just, and that his justice cannot sleep forever. We are in very dangerous times. Terrible things are awaiting us in this year. Will there be an actual nuclear war and the destruction of millions? That is a prophecy. There is a prophecy that does say exactly that. That within a period of 18 minutes, 1/3 of the world will be destroyed. And 1/3 is going to be devastated. Only 1/3 gets away. Well, where's the safe places? I'll tell you exactly where the safe place is. He who dwells in the presence of God, right? Yoshe b'seter Elyon, who dwells with God will be protected. Just like in a car accident. You can have a car going, smashing into a wall, exploding, and 5 to 6 people in it, die horrible deaths, and one walks out without a scratch. That's from God. You need to focus on what's real in this world. Well, let me rephrase that to focus on that which is real outside of this world. I'm not here to tell you to take political sides. I'm here to tell you, get the hell out of politics. Red or blue, either one is going to get you killed. Stay out of politics. Cling to morality. Cling to the good old Bible religion. Hear me. Get out of your urban areas. Get out of your artificial lifestyles. Find a rural place where you can live and thrive and learn how to be self-sufficient, biblical style. That is the way of God. And that is where the great test is going to come, to separate between the righteous and the wicked, the free and the slave. And this is what I've been calling people to do for years. I love Tennessee. And people say, why are you there? We don't have a big Jewish community. I say, I don't want a big Jewish community. I don't want the politics. I don't want all the garbage. I want the quiet and the solitude. You ever gone out to the Smoky Mountains and just experienced nature as God made it? Oh, I've had 100 families who wanted to come out here. We'd start a real natural community. Grow your own food. Right? You live your own life. Natural, healthy, and free. Everything that our society wants to make every effort to prevent you from accomplishing. And that's where we're at. It is a war for freedom. And if the, poop, as it say, hits the fan, if we really have social disorder in this country, don't you think for an instant, my buddy's got my back. Your buddy's going to be interested in their own backs. And that is where you're going to be in trouble. Now, as you know, there is this big movement today called prepping. No, I'm not a prepper. I don't discount the movement. I think it's smart within the context of being prepared. When we lived in California, there used to be big public service posters on the highways. Have in your car a 3-day, whatever that you need, just in case something were to happen to you. I think that's realistic and practical. I will say to you, be prepared. Because if and when, like when COVID occurred, remember we had shutdowns? They had big shutdowns in China, and people weren't prepared. They ran out of supplies. Do you have enough in your house that if and when an emergency ever happened that you could take care of yourselves? No? What do you do? Pray? What are you going to do? Recite Tehillim? What do you think? Heaven's going to bring you stuff like Amazon or something like that? La la land, you're thinking. Don't be ridiculous. You need to be realistic, and you got to be prepared. And let me tell you my one critique of the prepper movement. I hear about these people who are building these multi-million-dollar bunkers, and they're filling them up with like a warehouse, a Walmart-sized warehouse of stuff. Great, cool and groovy. 2 things happen. Number 1, Don't ever let anybody know what you got, because you then become a target for those who don't have. And don't think you will not be attacked or overrun. Well, I have 10 guys with AR-15s. Yeah, but you're going to run out of bullets before they will. Okay? They'll get your stuff if they want, especially if it's government. They want to confiscate your stuff. And number 2, no matter how much stuff you have, no matter how much money you have, no matter how you, in quote, prepare, you're going to run out eventually. What are you going to do when those big stockpiles of your survival food for 10 years run? 10 years? I ran out of food. Okay. So then what? How about doing something smart? Learning how to plant your own crops. You have a backyard. You have if you're in an apartment, learn how to grow tomatoes. Learn how to grow potatoes. Do you know you can grow potatoes in a garbage bag inside, your apartment? Go look these things up. Learn to be self-sufficient. Learn to take care of yourselves. This has always been the way of God. That's why God brought the children of Israel into the desert to teach them how to be self-sufficient. I'm right now, for our private classes, teaching the book of Judges. And there's a very clear pasuk verse in which God said that God stood back from spiritual intervention with the children of Israel so that they would learn the way of war, so they could stand up for themselves. Remember, that was the great lesson of the whole Merkavah. Ezekiel saw his big vision, chariot vision. And what is the first words that God said to him? Stand upon your feet, and I will speak to you. We have to remember and see the perversion today that has destroyed and corrupted everything that was sacred in our society, especially the identity and roles of men and women. You'll forgive me, ladies, but the presentation of womanhood today tells you you're a physical, sexual body, and use your body like a whore to control and manipulate. If that is not disgustingly evil, I don't know what is. Men, what a real strong man today, they call it toxic. Who's calling it toxic? The enemies of freedom, the enemies of responsibility. And they've redrawn the definition of a man to be anything but. He's weak, wimpy, disgusting. The enemies of this society have divided and conquered and destroyed from within. And people today are so darn blind, they don't see it. And that's why they are the walking dead. That's why the walk-ins can come in and simply take over and manipulate and control. Because they have the power of mind psychically to know how to do this. And if you don't cultivate your power, your psychic abilities of mind to be able to identify, recognize, and overcome, then you will submit and succumb without even knowing it. That's why I wrote Let There Be Knowing, to give you this opportunity so that you can experience freedom. So, here we are, Rosh Hashanah. You want to go and I'm going to be more religious and I'm going to be all nice and blah, 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 all your talk. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your own. You're already a slave, a mindless follower. Learn to be self-reliant. Learn to stand strong. In the wise words of our sages, ladies, a message for you as much as it is for the guys. In a place where there are no men, strive to be a man. Be responsible. Be self-sufficient. Get the heck out of Dodge. Get the heck out of your urban environments and living an artificial lifestyle and get back to the earth. How? Everybody's going to be different. Figure it out. But learn. Do it. Or experience what's going to happen if you don't. All right? That's all I can tell you. This next year is going to be a time of great trial and tribulation. There's no way around it. Don't think that the situation with Russia and China, they're just going to go away. The problems with the figurehead in Washington, it's just going to go away. It's all a contrivance with the specific intent to destroy. And it's going to succeed because the old has to fall before the new is built. And when the new is built, Mashiach. No, the fourth horn spoken of in Daniel. Some call it Armilos. Others call it the Antichrist. It'll be a complete new world order. And I'll tell you this, after the destruction of World War III, they're not going to have any tolerance, any sympathy, or anything from that old world that caused the destruction. That's going to be the propaganda. Such as individualism, religion, and all those old school ideas, which are from the old world. It's got to be removed so we can have a new way. No, they're not going to bow down and worship Satan and all that other kind of nonsense. That's already happening today. It's going to be just like Nimrod. Try to build a world complete opposite of the truth. And we're way down the road on the schedule. So, you have a choice. Freedom, slavery. It's not an idea. It's not a concept. It's not a thought. It's a life's choice. And most likely, if you really want to get free, you're going to have to find some way to relocate, change your entire lifestyle, and turn everything upside down. Like I said, I don't expect 99% are going to even listen. They're going to say, that's nice, Rabbi. You're an extremist. You're a right-winger. Oh, they're going to call me a Trumpist, a MAGA, a blah, blah, this, a blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I hear all the words. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, like I said, eyes that do not see, ears that do not hear. That's why I'm not here in the public forum anymore. But I only speak to those of my students who want to listen. If you're interested in learning with our KosherTorah school, our doors are open. I proudly accept everybody. Anybody who wants to come study with us, you're all welcome. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your sexual orientation. I don't care if you dress up as a purple, pink, bunny, rabbit, octopus. What do I care? I don't care if you're a trisexual, sexual, whatever. But when you come and learn, you're going to learn pure, authentic, kosher, orthodox Torah. The old school morality, the old school values, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a family, what it means to be responsible, what it means to be self-sufficient. Yep. You think that that's just stuff? That's the message of the prophets. And remember, the message of the prophets we call Kabbalah. See that name behind me? I teach that in all of the videos that I've been doing recently in the last couple months on Facebook about meditation. I don't like teaching about meditation in public, but I was specifically instructed by my rabbis, you go out and do them. And that's exactly why I did it, because we need it. This is your salvation, right there. Yud K Vav K. What does it mean? Go read my books, go see the videos. This is not a lesson about that. You want to know if you should move? You want to know if you should turn your lives upside down, maybe really right side up? Ask Yud K Vav K. Ask Hashem. God will guide you. Don't email me and ask me for advice. Who am I? All right? You go directly to the boss. And you say, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the Universe. I see this crazy world. I know what you're doing. Help. God will say, no problem. There will always be a she'arit. There will always be a remnant. But if you want to be the remnant, you can't be over here. You got to be over there. So get over there. You go, aye, aye, Captain. You listen. You'll be okay. If not, well, like, reminds me of the old Bill Cosby sketch with Noah. How long can you tread water when the floods come? The floods are already here. I think for most people, it's already too late. Pessimistic or what? Oh, God can save everybody. I'm not worried about what God can do. Of course, God can save. God can have mercy. Yeah, I know that. But what are you doing to reach to God? God's hand is reaching to you. You can't like reach up and get it. If you're not doing that, then God's putting his hand down. He's tapping you on the shoulder. Hey, wake up. And what are you doing? Don't bother me. Don't bother me. I'm watching my favorite show. I mean, it's so important. Did you see what the stars did? Oh my goodness. Yeah, God says, sorry, busy signal, can't get through. You can take the people out of Egypt, but you can't take Egypt out of the people. Nothing new under the sun. And as the plagues, and there are upon us now. COVID was a plan. The next one coming is a plan. The conflicts to come are all a plan. You, if you want to be in the right place, and the right time, in the right way, talk to the boss. Don't talk to me. Anything. I'm the lowliest of all the lowest messengers. I'm just telling you like it is. And on that note, I'm going to conclude. Yes, my boy. There's another message for everybody. You want to wish them Shana Tova? Crypto is so big. Can you stick your head up here for everybody to see you? Yeah. Let me see. There's my baby. There's my baby. This is the son of Tex for those of you who know my doggies. All right. My big boy. And on that note, you see my voice is already scratchy. That means it's time for me to go. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. You guys, you got a choice. You got a choice in front of you. If me, the KosherTorah School can be of any service to you, we're always here. You know, my books are on Amazon, the videos are on YouTube, all the private stuff I have through my school. I'm here for you. If I can be of any service, you know where to reach me. But you guys, everyone, got a decision to make. You're going to be passing under the great scales just a couple of days now. Get your acts together. Because once that thing is set, you're going to face destiny. Make your choices wisely. May God bless us all. Peace, yeah. Security, yeah. Prosperity, yeah. Health, yeah. May God bless us all above all with wisdom to see the truth. God bless everybody. Shana Tova. We'll see you soon. Shalom.